All right, we are here for Game 4 against our opponent, Sir HC214. We have lost the die roll, and we're waiting for our opponent to see if he wants to go first or draw first. All right, this is another bad hand. Wow, this deck is giving us some absolute garbage. Yeah, this is a one-lander, and there's not much that we can cast out of it, so we have to mulligan. This is a three-lander. It's got three eggs in it, and nothing else. Unfortunately, I think we have to keep this, though. Disciple of the Vault on top is good. We can Blood Crypt on turn 1 and play our Disciple. Put it as a Marsh Flats. Let's see what he fetches for. Fetches for a Godless Shrine. He's going to Thoughtseize us, which really is just him taking 2 damage, because it doesn't really matter which card he takes here. They're all fine. Probably going to take an Implement of Combustion, I would think. Took the Implement of Ferocity, which is good for us, because that's the one that we're least likely to be able to get off the ground. And we draw our Disciple, so we will play our Blood Crypt, and we will play our Disciple of the Vault. Pass the turn. Opponent could have a Fatal Push here, or even a Path to Exile. We actually hope for a Path to Exile, because that'll accelerate us a little bit. Opponent's got a Polluted Delta. Could suggest that he's an Esper control deck. We draw another land. We are going to play our Darksteel Citadel, and we will play both of our implements. We could just play the one implement and then leave up the red mana to sacrifice it, but I think we're just going to play them both. And it looks like our opponent has a removal spell. He's got a Watery Grave. He's going to Thought Scour. Okay. So our opponent's at 12 life, and he has Lingering Souls, which is interesting. Him taking so much damage from his lands and his Thoughtseize, it gives me the impression that this could be Esper Death Shadow, but Lingering Souls would be an odd option in Death Shadow. Not a bad option by any stretch. Lingering Souls is just a good card no matter what. But not something you would typically see in Death Shadow. He's got another Thoughtseize, which, you know, gotcha. Only lands in our hand. Took 2 damage for no reason. Let's see if he has a Death Shadow, though. Opponent has Street Wraith in his deck, which means he's definitely playing Death Shadow now. I think I'm pretty well sold on him playing Esper Death Shadow now. Opponent's got a Gurmag Angler. We drew a Ravenous Intruder. That's a very good draw. Let's play our Mountain. Let's see. We could play the Ravenous Intruder, leaving up an Implement. I think that's what we're going to do. Now, let's see. We can Implement for 2. Now, I think we just pass the turn. If he attacks with his Gurmag Angler, we can block with our Ravenous Intruder and sacrifice some artifact. Could also have a Path to Exile or a Fatal Push. Opponent's got something. Thinking about what he wants to cast, though. He's going to attack with his Gurmag Angler. He could have a board wipe here. Yeah, I think we'll go ahead and block. We actually have to get to the block step here. All right, now we're going to sacrifice a implement. Draw on a card, nugget him for 1. And we're going to sacrifice the Darksteel Citadel as the other artifact, because we want to actually use the implement. Makes our guy a 5/6, so he needs to have a removal spell here. He does not. He's going to Thoughtseize me, going to take this Pia's Revolution out of my hand. Puts him at 3. Gotta have a Death Shadow or something. Opponent has something that costs blue and white. Blue and black, maybe. So he's gonna flashback his Lingering Souls, okay. Alright, end step. I think we're gonna go ahead and sacrifice the implement to hit him for 2, and we'll see what we draw off of it. We draw a Terrarion, which should be enough. Alright, so we'll play the Terrarion, and our opponent sees that it's coming, so he go ahead and passes the game to us. So we're gonna go to sideboarding. Let's see. We could bring in Duresses and Fatal Pushes. He does seem to have a lot of spells. Or sorry, Duresses and Inquisitions. Fatal Push is good against Death Shadow. I think we'll bring that in. Doesn't look like he has any artifacts or enchantments that we're too worried about. He does have kind of a graveyard-based deck in Gurmag Angler and Tasigur, but I think Nihil Spellbomb might be a little slow. If this was Relic of Progenitus, which is a card that I thought about putting in the sideboard instead, I would probably bring it in, because then you can incrementally remove cards from his graveyard to keep him from getting delve off. Anger of the Gods might be okay against Lingering Souls tokens, but I don't think it's enough damage to really affect anything else. I don't think he's going to be bringing in life gain, considering the objective of his deck is to artificially lower his life total as much as possible. Molten Rain, not really slowing him down. So that being the case, the only thing it looks like I'm bringing in is the Fatal Push. I think I'm going to cut a Pia's Revolution, and I think I'm going to try it like that. All right, here's our opening hand. We have a Disciple. This is a one-lander. We have a Disciple of the Vault that we can cast, and a Chromatic Star. We really need to draw lands in order to make this work. This has kind of been the story of this deck, though, is we need to draw lands. I think we're going to keep it. Mulliganing against a deck that runs Thoughtseize is really bad. Opponent has land. See if he Thoughtseizes us on turn 1. Doesn't look like he is. We drew a land, so that's good. That's good. We have to first fetch for a Blood Crypt, and we will cast our Disciple of the Vault. Opponent could have a removal spell here. That's fine. Opponent's got a Street Wraith that he's cycling. Opponent cracks Polluted Delta. Gets Watery Grave. Gonna Serum Visions. Alright, opponent's passing back to us. Got something during our upkeep, maybe? Might be wanting to path us during our upkeep. Okay, didn't. We drew another Bloodstained Mire, which is good. So we're gonna sack our Bloodstained Mire. We're gonna get a Mountain, and we're gonna go ahead and cast... we're gonna cast a Ravenous Intruder. Really, it doesn't matter, but I'd rather have... one of each in hand than 2 of the same. I don't really think that matters, but just in case. We're not really playing around any cards that would hit 2 of the same card out of your hand. So it's not a big deal, but just a good practice, I guess. We'll attack with our Disciple. Opponent's at 14. We'll pass back to him. Opponent plays a Godless Shrine untapped, down to 12. Opponent has a Stony Silence. Again, the Stony Silence is a card that you would think would be really, really good against us. But for the most part, it's not that great. So we're kind of glad that he's taking a turn to cast it. We draw a Darksteel Citadel, which I think we're gonna not cast this turn. I think we're gonna play Bloodstained Mire this turn, and I think what we're going to do is sack it for a swamp. And I think we're going to cast Chromatic Star off of our swamp. Get out my swamp. What Shrek would say. That was a topical joke that I just made about Shrek. Opponent's going to sack his Flooded Strand. He's got an island. He's going to counterspell my Chromatic Star. Got a Spell Pierce. He's got a Ceremonious Rejection. He's going to counterspell my Chromatic Star. You bet, buddy. You bet. So we are going to cast our Atog and attack for 2. Puts our opponent to 9. Opponent's going to sack a Street Wraith, and opponent has Death Shadow. Death Shadow is a 6/6. He's got another Death Shadow, which is going to make blocking a little tricky, unfortunately. We drew an artifact here, and I think that means that we win, because we can play Darksteel Citadel. We can play our Chromatic Star. We can... play Shrapnel Blast, sacrificing our Darksteel Citadel. So our opponent could have a counterspell here. He does not. So that means we get to sacrifice our Chromatic Star, Disciple of the Vaulting Hymn, and we win the match. So we've beaten Esper, Death Shadow, and Eldrazi so far, which are 2 of the hardest decks in Modern right now. So I am very, very happy that we are putting up a good fight with a deck that we would consider very much a brew. So we're going to go into Game 5 and see if we can make our tickets back in some treasure chests. So hopefully we win our 5th round.